What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to a brand new episode of Caffeinate today for April the 17th of 2019. My name is Samuel Adams, and welcome to today's show. Of course, as always, I hope this one does find you well, and if you are brand new to the show, this is a daily gaming news podcast in which I bring you the hottest gaming news from around the industry, and I pack it up in one tight, neat little show for you to enjoy 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time if you did want to check it out live. But of course, the show is then taken down and put up on podcast services around the world, as well as youtube.com/Samuel Adams Media. But today, we have some big news because the first PlayStation 5 details have been unveiled, and that is a big deal. So we will talk about what that means for the future of PlayStation for the next console generation overall, because there is a lot to break down here. On top of that, we also have talk about the second most popular console right now, the Atari VCS, which is coming down the pipe, is going to feature a brand new high-performance Ryzen processor, and so we'll talk about what that means for the potential power of Atari's strange little console that's for some reason still happening. Microsoft's diskless Xbox One S is actually coming out on May the 7th for $250. Who could have ever predicted that? Generally everybody in the gaming media. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is a brand new service that bundles together Xbox Live and Xbox Game Pass. It is the new best deal in gaming, without a doubt. Gamestop now allows for full game returns for new games within 2 days of release for store credit. And finally, we will talk about the Notre Cathedral fire and how Assassin's Creed Unity could help rebuild the famed cathedral itself. But that is our news lineup of the day. Of course, again, if you are brand new, welcome on in. I do hope you enjoy today's show. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. The first PlayStation 5 details have been unveiled. We've got backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 4 games, PSVR for PlayStation 5 SSDs, and more. Sony has revealed the first tidbits of information for its next-generation console, most likely named PlayStation 5, but that has not yet been confirmed. In an interview with Wired, Mark Cerny, lead system architect for PlayStation 4, talked about his work on the PS4 successor. In the interview, Cerny confirmed the next-generation PlayStation is partially based on PS4 architecture, which means that it is backwards compatible. Cerny also revealed that it is not an all-digital service and will accept physical discs. Wired's article described the transition from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 as indicated by Cerny as a gentle one, adding that numerous games will be released for both PS4 and next-gen consoles. The description of a gentle transition indicates that the PlayStation 5 will be an iteration on the PlayStation 4 instead of being a drastically different console the way the PS3 was from its predecessor. Housed in the console will be an AMD chip that has a CPU based on a third-generation Ryzen. It will have 8 cores of the 7nm Zen 2 microchip. Although the console will support 8K, displaying at this resolution will be dependent on TVs catching up because, as we all know, 8K is not necessarily the industry standard as it sits right now. The graphics, meanwhile, will be driven by a custom version of Radeon's Navi line. This graphics chip will support ray tracing, something which is starting to become popular in movies and video games. Although it is traditionally thought of as a lighting technique, Cerny says that there are implications beyond creating realistic environments. If you wanted to run tests to see if the player can hear certain audio sources or if the enemies can hear the player's footsteps, ray tracing is useful for that, he explained. It's all the same thing as taking a ray through the environment. In fact, audio is one of the main improvements Cerny is keen to talk about. The AMD chip will enable 3D audio, and this, according to Cerny, is key to immersing players deeper. This naturally led to discussions of PlayStation VR, and while Cerny didn't confirm whether a new version of Sony's headset will be released, the existing one will be supported. I won't go into the details of our VR strategy beyond saying that VR is very important to us and that the current PSVR headset is compatible with the new console, he confirmed. Another key leap in the next PlayStation will make comes through its hard drive. According to Cerny, developers let Sony know that they want solid-state drives in the new hardware as opposed to the slower equivalents used in current consoles. These SSDs are relatively prevalent now in laptops, and what Sony is bringing to the next PlayStation is described as being specialized for the hardware. Cerny demonstrated the change an SSD introduces by gaming by comparing a load sequence from Insomniac's Spider-Man on a standard PS4 Pro and a dev kit of the next-gen PlayStation. On the former, it was around 15 seconds for fast travel, while on the latter, it was just 0.8 seconds. This, Cerny added, has implications on how the world can be rendered as well, which in turn impacts how quickly Spidey can move through the world. On the new hardware, the camera moves through the city much quicker as the hardware is capable of keeping up with rendering requirements. Discussing the SSD, Sony said the raw read speed is important, but so are the details of the I/O input, or the input-output mechanisms, and the software stack that we put on top of them. I got a PS4 Pro, and then I put in an SSD that cost as much as the PS4 Pro. It might be 1/3 faster. Sony didn't provide any details on any of the services or a broader overview of PlayStation's vision for the next generation of gaming, instead focusing on the nitty-gritty of its hardware. It is currently unclear when the console will be fully unveiled. Traditionally, Sony would have, as always, debut its new PlayStation at E3, but the company will not have its usual press conference this year. This leaves the PlayStation Experience, one of its new Nintendo Direct-like state-of-play streams, or a standalone PS5 announcement event as possibilities, and that is assuming it plans to reveal the PS5 this year. It is also unclear when Sony plans to launch the PlayStation 5. In May of 2018, Sony's head of PlayStation, John Codera, said the new PlayStation was 3 years off. "We will use the next 3 years to prepare the next step," he said, "to crouch down so that we can jump higher in the future." While Sony's plans are still largely unclear, Microsoft's are starting to come into focus. The company is set to have an E3 press conference this year, and head of Xbox Phil Spencer said it is going to go as big at E3 as they have ever gone before. And so we have set the stage for the next generation of consoles. Of course, as somebody who loves covering gaming news, this is without a doubt the most exciting time in the industry, aside from when these consoles actually launch. The build-up, the anticipation, the analysis, the hype around these consoles is something that is incredibly exciting for people like me, and I think that there is a lot of information in this Wired article. Now, of course, I will link it down below. I read the GameSpot summary, but there is a lot more of a discussion kind of approach in the Wired article that I think does shed a lot more light on what is actually happening here. But the big details here are the SSD. The big details here include PS4 backwards compatibility. On top of that, you also have stuff like a brand new GPU, and I've seen some people on Twitter saying that this new console is built of components that could cost between $800 and $1,000, which does put the price point of a PlayStation 5 significantly higher than the PS4 Pro, the PS4. It might be more than $500, which has traditionally been pretty much the breaking point of what can be charged for a console out of the gate. Now, of course, the PlayStation 3 did go against that grain and charge significantly more whenever it first launched, but again, that was much to the, chagrin of a lot of fans and a lot of the PlayStation fanboys out there. But what do we know so far? We know very little in the grand scheme of things, but we do know that 8K is going to be supported. On top of that, you got PSVR continuing support. A lot to break down here, and of course, right now is a very exciting time for those that are looking forward to the next generation. I think the biggest benefit from all of this, from all of the information that we've seen so far, is without a doubt the SSD that is integral to the PlayStation experience, because as Mark Cerny says in this interview, you can put an SSD in the PlayStation 4 Pro. I had one in my launch day PS4 before I traded it in to upgrade to the Pro, and I will say that load times, as he said, were quicker, but they weren't, foundationally changing my experience within the world of PlayStation. It wasn't something that completely changed my entire gaming life. It was nice, but it wasn't great. So to be able to build an SSD into the PS4 Pro and the PS5, even if you wanted to go so far as to say that, and to make it something that is a basic expectation of the world of PlayStation, that's something that I think is going to add a lot of value going into the next generation of games. But we will see what happens. Of course, we might be hearing something around E3. If I had to guess, a release date for this should be around fall 2020, winter 2020, because we did see the PlayStation 4 release about 7 years after the PlayStation 3. So whenever you take that into consideration, seems like a pretty good guess that that's when we could be seeing the next gen PlayStation. However, let's talk about another incredibly exciting console. The Atari VCS, definitely competing with PlayStation 5, am I right? AMD's new high-performance Ryzen processor will power the Atari VCS. AMD revealed its latest embedded processing chip on Tuesday. The Ryzen embedded R1000 SoC promises to be faster, cooler, and more efficient, and it's being used to power the new Atari VCS console. The new processor includes built-in Ethernet, native 4K video support with modern HDCP, and a secure frame buffer that fully supports DRM videos like those found on Netflix and other streaming apps. With the AMD Ryzen embedded 1000, or R1000, excuse me, powering the Atari VCS, we can support the 4K 60 FPS HDR content that users expect from a modern, secure gaming and entertainment system, said Michael Artz, CEO or COO of Atari Connected Devices. AMD's new Ryzen embedded SoC will also help protect the VCS's environment and content as we support an unprecedented open access model that allows Atari's highly creative community to install and any other operating system side by side with the Atari OS. Unlike many retro consoles, the NES Classic and the PlayStation Classic, the Atari VCS is a fully featured gaming and media device that uses a Linux-based operating system. As homage to its predecessors, it comes with a collection of more than 100 classic Atari titles, like Asteroid, Centipede, Breakout, and Missile Command. Fans can access and download additional titles and content via the console storefront when it launches, and of course, we don't know when it's going to launch, just we know it is currently slated for late 2019. And of course, this is all after much drama has gone on around the Atari VCS. But again, this is just such a strange project. I want to make that incredibly clear. I would not pre-order this. I would not buy this on day one because I do not know how long this is going to last. Again, it has a cool concept behind it where it blends the past and that retro feel like you get from Atari with modern gaming, with modern games. But I just don't know that there is space in the industry for Atari to come back in this kind of way. I mean, whenever you have Google getting into the world of gaming through Google Stadia, which isn't even a console, and it's getting more hype than the Atari VCS, it might be time to go ahead and just embrace your retro roots and just release Asteroids on iOS and make it, you know, stuff like that. Just little small things to make money, because you can still make money through nostalgia. Make no mistake about that. That is still very much so a way to make some bank. However, exciting times to see AMD really buckling down and becoming a huge part of gaming culture. Of course, they've been within the consoles for a good long while, especially when it comes to PlayStation. But to see the Atari VCS actually getting a high-performance Ryzen processor that is pretty new, I mean, announced on Tuesday, that's something that is shocking and also might be telling of the price point of this puppy right here. But we'll see what happens. However, let's say you don't want a PlayStation 5. Let's say you don't want the Atari VCS, but you do want a brand new Xbox One S. As we have been discussing, through rumors, it is now coming out on May the 7th for $250 without, that's right, without an optical drive. What is a disk drive worth to you? If it's $50 or less, there is a new Xbox that you might be interested in. All of the leaks were spot on. During today's Inside Xbox stream, Microsoft revealed that the Xbox One S All Digital Edition, a new model of the Xbox One S that comes without the optical drive, meaning that it's incapable, I want to make that very clear, incapable of playing disc-based media, is going to be coming out on May the 7th for $250. Now, of course, the All Digital Edition shares all of the same features as the standard Xbox One S, and it has identical computing specs and a 1 terabyte internal hard drive. Now, Jeff Gaddis, Microsoft's internal general manager for platform and devices marketing, says the Xbox One S All Digital Edition is about providing choice. As with anything we work on, our customers are at the center of our product development process, and general consumer behavior suggests there is a strong appetite for digital experiences today. We think of the Xbox One S All Digital Edition as an option that caters to audiences who prefer to find and play their games digitally. We are not looking to push customers towards digital. It's about meeting the needs of customers that are digital natives that prefer digital-based media and providing value with the most affordable Xbox One console. Gaddis is adamant about preserving this model's position as the most affordable Xbox One. The Xbox One S All Digital Edition will again launch on May the 7th for $250, while the standard Xbox One S retails for $300. And so, if you did want to get it, it also comes with 3 games built in, preloaded onto the Xbox One, including Sea of Thieves, Minecraft, and Forza Horizon 3. And again, there is a picture of it. Imagine with me, close your eyes. It's an Xbox One S without the little slit for your disc and whatnot. So the Xbox One S All Digital Edition, otherwise known as the Xbox One SAD Edition, is definitely a big step forward towards a more digital-based future, and I don't think this is going to be the norm going forward. Of course, that's the discussion that's being had around these brand new consoles that are going to the digital side of things. Will we ever get to a point in the gaming industry in which we are completely and totally away from physical media? I don't think it's coming for a very long time. I think it's possible. I definitely think that there's a future in that, maybe 10, 20 years down the line, but a couple of console generations at the least, because people still love their physical media. I have an entire line of PlayStation 4 games sitting to my right here that I have been keeping track of over the course of the past couple of years. That's just the way that gamers are. And so to say that we are going fully digital just doesn't make sense, and it simply won't happen. But this is a cool thing to offer, and I think that's pretty much the way they are approaching this. It's a cool offer to have, where if you do want to just get in on the basic necessities of gaming, then an Xbox One S all-digital edition and the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which we will talk about here in a moment, is a fantastic way to get access to not only multiplayer, but also tons of the biggest games for this console generation, all for a relatively affordable price when it really comes down to it. Now, this is also a big experiment, as we've been talking about over the course of the past couple of weeks, because this is the first all-digital console, aside from stuff like the PSP Go. We don't talk about that, though. This is the first all-digital big mainline console to really hit the market, and so this is really kind of dipping your toe in the pool and seeing what the temperature is of will this actually be feasible going forward. If this is successful, I wouldn't be shocked to see the next generation of consoles launch, of course, with a physical drive, but maybe later on down the line, sooner in comparison to this console generation, you could be seeing an all-digital PlayStation 5, an all-digital Xbox One, 2, whatever you want to call it. You could be seeing that kind of thing come, and I think that's something that is definitely an interesting thought to entertain nonetheless. But let's say you did want to get an Xbox One S all-digital edition, you can pick up your sad box, for $250 on May the 7th, but you might want to get the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate when it comes out later in 2019. What is that, you say? Oh, it's a brand new service that includes both Xbox Live Gold and Xbox Game Pass for $14.99 a month. Do I really need to read the rest of this article because I pretty much just described it? This was also announced on Inside Xbox yesterday. I'm not going to, go into the details of it. But Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Live Gold essentially blend together to create a fantastic Xbox gaming experience. And so if you do pick up the digital edition of the console, or even if you have an Xbox One X or a classic Xbox One, whatever you might have, this is the best way to get the most games for the least amount of cash. That's pretty much what it comes down to. For $15 a month, you get access to a constantly rotating library of over 100 good games in Xbox Game Pass, and on top of that, free games through Xbox Live Gold, Xbox Live, connectivity. You can play with your friends and whatnot. There really is no reason to not have this if you have an Xbox. It really is just, this is the best deal. And I say that, and I sound like a spokesperson for Microsoft, and I sound like an Xbox fanboy. I don't even have an Xbox One anymore. I sold mine because I have a PlayStation 5, or excuse me, whoa, I'm not that much of an industry insider. I have a PlayStation 4 Pro, and so I didn't need to have both of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 on my table. But if you do have an Xbox One, or you're looking to get one, this is just unbeatable when it comes to the amount of value you get from this specific lineup. It's just phenomenal. So again, if you did want to get that, it's coming out later in 2019. No definitive release date has been unveiled. I would love to see this come out alongside the Xbox One S all-digital edition. I don't know why that isn't a thing, because that would just be marketing gold. That makes this so incredibly simple, because you wouldn't need anything else for the time being. That would be phenomenal. But again, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I don't know how difficult this is to put together. Doesn't seem like it's too challenging, but hey, that's why I'm sitting in a bedroom talking about video games instead of working at Microsoft putting this kind of stuff together. However, let's talk about GameStop, because GameStop is going to allow game returns for full store credit within 2 days of release, and that is for brand new games. PS4 exclusive Days Gone is the only eligible game for now, but more could be coming. GameStop's latest promotion is a doozy. The gaming retail giant will offer returns within 2 days of a game's release in the form of store credit worth the full price of the game, even for open software. Known as Guaranteed to Love It, the initiative was first reported by Cheap Ass Gamer on Twitter, an account that I would highly recommend following, with an image of company memo outlining the transaction process. A GameStop rep confirmed the details of the program to Polygon. True to our core promise, today's announcement is a testament that GameStop is committed to giving power to the players, and our Guaranteed to Love It trade promotion offers our customers the peace of mind of buying video games inside our retail stores at no risk, beginning with Days Gone next week, the company said via Polygon. The open-world zombie action game from Sony's Ben Studio will be the first and only game to be eligible for the Guaranteed to Love It program, and it does not apply to anything else as of now. And the deal is valid only for the standard edition of the game through Sunday, April the 28th, 2 days after Days Gone's April 26th release, at Gamestop retail locations around the US. In other words, you can't buy the game at any time and still take advantage of the promotion. Yes, the deal theoretically allows customers to buy Days Gone at launch, play through it in less than 24 hours, and then return it for $59.99 of GameStop credit, and sales tax is not part of the refund, but that may be more trouble than it's worth, considering the game's reported length is approximately 30 hours. Don't be weak. You can do that. That's easy. That's feasible. Get your shit bucket and sit on the couch and get it done. Either way, it's a smart and potentially necessary experiment on GameStop's part. Earlier this month, the company reported a net loss of $673 million for the 2018 fiscal year, which ended February 2nd and included the sale of the company's spring mobile division in January for $700 million. That's a lot of cash. At the time, the company announced that it was implementing a cost savings and profit improvement initiative that would include supply chain efficiencies, operational improvements, expense savings, and pricing and promotion optimization. The new Guaranteed to Love It deal seems like something that falls under that plan, and GameStop happened to announce it one day after the company's new CEO, George Sherman, started in the role. And so this is a really interesting thing to be reporting on today, because it's weird that it's shown as a promotion, because this should generally be, if anything, a return policy. It doesn't really feel like a good promotion to be like, hey, if this game sucks, you can bring it back. It's a good deal, right? Like, that's not how that works. You can't just, that's not a deal. That's not a promotion. That's just a return policy. But again, big improvement from what happened before. And I tweeted last night whenever I saw this, news come out. Imagine if this had happened with A Way Out, which of course was an incredibly short co-op game that came out last year, and it was a good game, but it was just incredibly short. And so if you bought it, a lot of people were trying to return it, and I was actually in my local GameStop looking at games, and a dude came in and tried to return it because, again, the game is like 4 hours long, 5 hours long, and he got so incredibly frustrated, just threw it and then left. People will take advantage of this, okay? I want to make that very clear, and it goes back to the point that I've always made about Redbox. If you have a game that you want to play, and you don't mind spending a significant amount of time playing it in a very small amount of time, then Redbox is the best way for somebody who's in college, like myself, that might not have the most money, to go and experience these massive games for just a couple of bucks, you know? I mean, you might be playing it for between 13 and 15 hours in one sitting anyways. You might as well double that and finish out. But to see GameStop getting in on this, I think is a big effort to bring people back into the store. I think that's really what's happening here, because to be able to return your games is definitely going to boost sales, even if it is within 2 days of release, because people are going to absolutely take advantage of the platform. And I think that when it comes down to it, it's better to be taken advantage of than not used at all. And that's pretty much where GameStop is coming from with this. Again, not the best policy, also not a promotion. I will stand beside that. But if you did want to check out Days Gone, you can return it within 2 days of release, starting on the 26th of April and going until the 28th, if you did want to at least dive in and give it a shot. Don't know how well that one's going to work for GameStop, but an interesting promotion nonetheless. However, of course, a couple of days back, we saw a terrible fire at the Notre Cathedral, which is a historic landmark in France, but it could be rebuilt fully thanks to some help from Assassin's Creed Unity. After yesterday's dreadful fire at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France, officials have been trying to get a sense of the damage behind them and the scale of the work ahead of them in rebuilding parts of the historic building. While this will not only take time and resources, it has been pointed out that there might be a leg up in the form of accurate 3D models from the cathedral's interior via an unlikely source. Assassin's Creed Unity, the 2014 release in the history-centered series and first exclusive Assassin's Creed game on modern consoles, took place in Paris during the French Revolution. As a result, the game features an intricate 3D map of the inside of Notre Dame Cathedral in a way that unrivaled outside of historians. In 2014, the game's senior artist Caroline Miosi, I believe I said that incorrectly, but nonetheless, told The Verge that she spent 2 years recreating the building down to making sure each brick is where it should be. In an interview with Ubisoft In an interview Ubisoft published about the game around its release, the, of course, designer said, "We added things like cables and incense across the second level of Notre Dame so players will be able to move around easier, so they're above the ground. I also think it adds a personal touch to the monument. I've left my little mark on a few parts of Notre Dame, and there is something remarkable about that. It would be fascinating if a game that recreated one of the world's most historically significant buildings ended up somehow influencing its rebuild form in the coming years and decades." This is phenomenal. Of course, for those that played Assassin's Creed Unity, not phenomenal. There were a lot of issues that plagued that game around its release, mainly because of the jump from PS3 and Xbox 360 architecture to PS4 and Xbox One, and so the game never really did recover from that in the public eye. Not saying it's a bad game, just pointing out some flaws, but fantastic to see this could actually be something of benefit. Of course, I highly doubt this will be used, but it's cool to know that there are 3D models, realistic renderings, stuff like every brick put back in place that has been, you know, documented, I guess, through Assassin's Creed Unity. That's something that is amazing. Of course, the fire itself, devastating. That was horrible. I watched it live via Twitter, and oh my gosh, what a disaster for history, for France. Just absolutely horrible to actually see. And of course, tons of history used during the French Revolution as a food warehouse, which is what we see here in Assassin's Creed Unity. And again, just so much history. You know, World War II, it survived that. So much going on there. And a shame to see it burn like it did. But Assassin's Creed Unity could help it rebuild. Will it? You know, we'll see about that. But it very well could. Now, with that being said, that rounds out today's episode of Caffeinate. Of course, if you are brand new to the show, this is a show hosted 5 days a week, and I do hope you come back for more. Subscribe on YouTube or follow on Twitch, and of course, links for all of that are down below. But for those listening via podcast, I appreciate you being here, and I will catch you on the next one. But until then, have a fantastic day. Peace.